I didn't argue when my mom said it. "We just want a calm Christmas this year," she told me over the phone, the word calm pressed flat and careful, like she was smoothing a wrinkle out of the air. "Let's keep it kid-free." I remember nodding even though she couldn't see me. I remember saying, "That makes sense." I remember meaning it. I don't have kids. I've never been offended by them, but I've also learned that in our family, kid-free is a phrase with adjustable edges. It stretches or tightens depending on who's asking. Still, I chose to believe her this time. Maybe because I wanted to. Maybe because I was tired of negotiating my own presence at holidays, tired of being the one who was always understanding. So I adjusted. I made different plans. I agreed to stop by briefly on Christmas Eve instead of staying over. I wrapped my gifts early and left them by the door, tagged in tidy, like proof of compliance. I even declined another invitation elsewhere because I didn't want to create drama by being unavailable. I told myself, this is what being an adult looks like. You respect boundaries. The cruise certificate sat on my dining table for a week before I framed it. It had been my idea, something generous, neutral, hard to criticize. A fully paid cruise for my parents in the spring, no strings, no scheduling conflicts. A clean gift. When I slid it into the frame, the glass caught the light just right, and for a second I felt proud. Not performative proud. Quietly, like I had finally learned how to give without expecting anything back. Christmas morning I woke up late. Calm, ironically. No rush. No drive across town. I made coffee and let it go lukewarm while I scrolled, half interested, half relieved. The video arrived at 10:42 a.m. It wasn't sent to me directly. It was posted, casually, publicly, by my cousin. A short clip, vertical, shaky, wrapping paper everywhere. Lauder overlapping itself. I saw small hands tearing at boxes. Then another set. Then a third. Someone squealed. Someone said, "Careful with the bow, buddy!" The camera panned. There was my cousin's Stepkids. Fine. Then my sister's roommate's Toddler, who I didn't even know would be there, sitting on my mother's rug like he'd always belonged. And then, unmistakably, the dog. Our dog. A red bow tied around its neck, pawing at a gift bag while everyone laughed. I watched it 3 times. Not because I couldn't believe it. Because I could. Because this is how it always happens. The rule isn't the rule, it's a suggestion applied selectively. Kid-free hadn't meant no kids. It had meant not your life, not your priorities, not the inconvenience of explaining why you matter too. I felt something go very still in me. I didn't comment. I didn't text my mom. I didn't call my sister. I didn't even close the app. I set the phone down, rinsed my mug, and dried it carefully, like the moment required precision. The cruise certificate was still on the table. I picked it up and noticed, absurdly, a smudge on the glass. A fingerprint. I wiped it with my sleeve. The frame felt heavier than it had a week ago. Or maybe I was. I took a photo, just the framed. No angle. No drama. Then I opened my messages with my dad and typed 2 words. Returning to sender. I sent it before I could add anything else. The next 2 hours were ordinary in a way that felt deliberate. I folded laundry. I answered an email. I ate toast without tasting it. My phone stayed quiet, which told me everything I needed to know. The message had landed, and no one wanted to be the first to touch it. At Funsano 3 p.m. There was a knock on my door. It wasn't the polite knock my dad uses when he's expected. It was urgent, uneven, like he'd misjudged the distance between the door and his own nerves. When I opened it, he was breathing hard. He didn't look angry. He looked recalibrated. Like someone who had run headlong into a fact they hadn't planned for. His jacket was unzipped, hair flattened by wind. He glanced past me, into my apartment, like he expected the certificate to be hanging on the wall already, safe and resolved. "Can we talk?" he asked. I stepped back and let him in. I didn't offer coffee. He stood by the table where the frame still rested. He didn't touch it. I didn't realize. He started, which was a phrase I had heard my entire life. "Your mom thought, well, it just sort of happened. You know how it is." I waited. Silence does interesting things to people who are used to filling it. "We didn't think you'd mind," he added, softer. That's when I raised my voice. Not screaming. Not shaking clear. "I didn't mind kids," I said. "I minded being lied to." He flinched, not because of volume, but because of the word. "You asked for kid-freed," I continued. "I rearranged my holiday. I opted out. I respected the rule you set. And then you let everyone else decide it didn't apply to them. That's not calm. That's convenient." He opened his mouth, closed it again. I did make a scene, I said. I didn't post anything. I didn't call anyone out. I just sent you the truth in a frame. Because I'm done subsidizing this family's comfort with my flexibility. My dad looked at the certificate then, really looked like it had teeth. You can keep it, he said quickly. The cruise. We'll talk to your mom. This got out of hand. I shook my head. No, I said. You don't get to smooth this over by accepting a gift I gave under false terms. Take it. Or don't. But I'm not pretending this was a misunderstanding. He swallowed, nodded once. I'm sorry, he said. And this time, it wasn't procedural. He left with the frame under his arm, careful not to bump the doorframe on the way out. Later, I heard they changed their plans. That the cruise was postponed, then quietly reassigned. That my mom told people she felt awful. Without specifying why. No announcement. No apology tour. Just a recalibration, like my dad's face at the door. Nothing else was fixed. Christmas didn't become warm. The next few gatherings were polite in that brittle way that means everyone is measuring their words. The kids were still there. So was the dog. I was too, but differently. I stopped adjusting first. I stopped assuming. It wasn't a victory. There was no satisfaction buzz. What I felt instead was steadiness. The kind that comes from naming a thing and letting it stay named. Calm, I learned, isn't the absence of noise. It's the presence of boundaries that don't move just because someone else wants them to.